Good morning. All right. Hope everybody's doing good today. Nice crisp morning. So I wanted to jump on today and talk about why I work two jobs, and why I enjoy working two jobs, and the benefits to working two jobs. And I say two jobs, and really it's two jobs. One of them is, I guess you would consider it more of like a side hustle, something along those lines, but it's still very much a job, in many ways. And so basically I've been a barber, like I mentioned before, a licensed barber since 2012, and I've been doing that full time. I was doing that full time for a majority of my career as a barber. Various barbershops, few different barbershops, full time in the shop all day, right? And that was great, and you really can build a pretty good clientele that way, and you can provide for your family, and you can make a living, and there's many things you can do that can keep things consistent for you, as far as like your income, your clientele, and your schedule, kind of just booking up your schedule and seeing like, okay, like you kind of know what your next week looks like when you're scheduling appointments. But over my time of doing that, over my time of working full time as a barber, I was still I was pretty young in my early 20s, and I was still kind of wondering, like, okay, is this it? Am I just gonna be inside of a shop all day, just cutting all day here in just this one location? And I'm sure a lot of people experience that with their jobs, even when they're young. It's like you're kind of ambitious, you want to get out, you want to try things, you want to not just kind of be inside all day or trapped inside of a building. Not trapped, but inside, indoors rather than outdoors, and things like that. And so it kind of makes you start thinking like, well, what do I really want to do? And that's, is it this, or is it something else, or what else? You're trying to think of all these things. You're ambitious, you're trying to figure it out. And so as I've been a barber, and also, I should mention that I, I'm married, and got married young as well. And we had our daughter around the time 2012, around the time I started barbering. So, I'm also thinking of my family. I'm also thinking of, how can I best provide, right? And so I started to realize, after being in barbering for a few years, like kind of the pros and cons, I guess you would, of like, okay, I can just hang in here and keep grinding, keep doing my thing, or maybe I can jump over and do this, and this is gonna, be able to provide maybe this kind of benefit, or this kind of, work schedule, or you name it, just different things. And so fast forward and into even today, right? And I still kind of appreciate that, and I still feel that way in many ways, where I'm trying to be mindful of, like, not just my needs, but my family's needs, work-life schedule, and even the day-to-day. Hey, good morning. And so The benefits of working 2 jobs, right, is that on one hand, you're building up one, let's say, business or one, business with, cutting hair or barbering. And then on the other hand, you're building up, hey, good morning. You're building up skills and work experience on the other hand with a W-2 job, right? It's like a regular job. So I currently work in insurance full time as an underwriter, and that has provided tremendous amount of benefits and work-life balance, and even work experience and skills and things that can help me in the future for sure. And so, like, on one hand, on my resume, it looks good because they're saying they can look at my resume, they being like an employer or something, right? And they can say, wow, this guy's, does this full time, right? Has this kind of work experience, all that. And so it shows like that I've been continuous in my building of skill level, just building of knowledge in whatever job I'm doing, and skill level. And on the other hand, I'm still building my business, my self-employed business, right? And that has a lot of benefits because sorry, there's a lawnmower, it might be a little loud, but that has a lot of benefits because they're both growing at the same time. And instead of me, one second, get down. Instead of me only doing one thing and building that one thing, they're both growing at the same time. And the benefits of that are that if like something happens to one, I still have the other, right? And so I really enjoy doing that. And there's times when, let's say, like, cause I was working construction for a little while too, right? Same thing, just trying to figure out what that next thing was. And so working construction, I would get laid off sometimes and from a job, right? And so once you're laid off, it's like, okay, now you're on the waiting list and you're waiting for work again, and you're trying to collect unemployment and you're not working, you're at home. And so having a side hustle, having my other self-employment, having my other skill as a barber, cutting hair, I'm able to offset, right, some of that by cutting hair. And obviously at the time, I needed more than just what unemployment was giving me, from being laid off from construction. But the benefit is that I was able to use my other job, use my other skill, if you would, in that time of need more than ever, just to help, right? Just to help. And don't get me wrong, that was a rough time. When you really you start using your savings, all these things, right, to survive. But if I didn't have that other side hustle, that other skill in place, it would have been a lot harder for me to try to start when I needed it, right? So because I was already doing it and I had built kind of a regiment and a consistency with doing it, it was just there and came in handy right when I needed it. And that's why I'm kind of, making these videos and just saying, hey, I think you guys should start cutting hair. And here's why, right? And I think that you guys should only charge, $20 a haircut starting out. And I broke that down on how you can make an extra $1,000 a month, right? And so the reason I'm promoting that and encouraging people to do that is for situations like if you're laid off, if things happen, right? And if you're out of work, instead of being like, oh no, what am I gonna do, and trying to then put on your thinking cap and then say, oh man, I need to start now, I need to figure something out, oh, I'm gonna jump into this or that. Sure, you should think like that. Sure, you should pivot quickly and jump into other things. But why not have something that you've already been working on? Why not have something that you've already been building up and slowly, investing into, be right there and ready for you? And then you, at that point, that's an opportunity to even do what you're doing, like, cutting hair on the side, even more. Right? Because now if you're not working, now you have more time, so now you can take more haircuts, right? Or you could go out and promote yourself a little more, right? And so this is just the way I think sometimes, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? But I would say it's actually a good thing, and I feel confident in that. People may disagree, but you always got to kind of stop and look up and think ahead and look down the road, because even in barbering full time, like, it's a great industry, and I highly encourage people to become a barber, to work full time at a barber shop, to rent a chair, to open a shop, you name it. I'm all for it. And even I'm sure barbers will, agree that once you're doing it and once you're in it, you realize, like, oh man, okay, if I want to take a vacation, I gotta save. Obviously you're paying for your vacation, but you also are paying for your chair still, even though you're not there. You're also paying for, or you're also basically losing money that you would have made from the clients let's say that week or those days that you took the vacation. That's money that you lost essentially, or that you're trying to reschedule. So you have to calculate all that, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I thought I was just wanting to take a quick little vacation. And there you can, but you do have to be mindful of all these other things. And so sometimes you go, oh, okay, for me, one of the benefits of working a full-time, let's say W-2 job, right, is that they have vacation, they pay you vacation pay, right? You have vacation days and hours that you're able to take. Most jobs, not all jobs, right? But luckily my company has that. And that's really nice because I'm not really losing out on anything really. I'm just taking my vacation. I'm even using the paid hours they gave me, and that is compensating on my paycheck, so I really didn't lose any money. The only thing is that it does still affect your side hustle, in the sense of like, hey, you're telling your clients, hey, I'm not available these days, right? I'll be available these days. And so you're blocking out your schedule, which, you could be still losing a little bit of money that week or just rescheduling it. But if you're doing it, if you're not at a shop or something and you're just going to people's houses, or you're doing it at your own house or whatever, you're not paying booth rent, you're not losing money, or I should say spending money just to go on your vacation. And so that's just one of the that's just one of the many benefits of why you should have a full-time and a part-time job or a side hustle, because you can equally grow both. And sure, there's limitations to how much you're going to be able to grow both, right? Because I guess for your side hustle, right, your side hustle might have a little bit more of limitations on how much you can grow it, but also not really, because it's, if anything, you're just going to grow it more stable. You're going to grow it more consistent. You're going to grow it more strong, where it's going to be more of a consistent cash flow, and the more you're doing it, the more consistent you are with it, the more people are gonna hit you up for it, and so you're gonna be booked out, on just your side hustle, and be in demand, which is just solidifying, your side hustle. And so, good morning. And then your regular job, that's your regular job. There's really, not really limitations, because you have a set time, 40 hours a week or whatever that you're doing that. And there's room to grow also in both of them. I know that sounds a little contradicting, because I said, sure, there's limitations, but in your regular job, as you're continuing to gain those skills and learn that skill or trade or career or whatever, kind of job it is, there's going to be options for promotions, pay raises, right? You're going to continue to grow within your companies as you continue to grow in your knowledge and everything, right? And so, bam, that's already, increasing your, likelihood of promotion and growing within those companies. And the same thing kind of applies to, your side hustle, because let's say you want to take that to the next level, and maybe you want to go to a studio or something and pay a small rent at like a studio. You could do that too, and be cutting on the weekends or after work, stuff like that, and have a more professional environment that you're doing it at. You could do that too. You could even probably rent a chair part-time at a barbershop, because I know a lot of barbershops do that too. And the reason that that's a good idea, is that you're gonna get more clients that way. When you promote yourself, when you take pictures, when you record videos, whatever, it's at a location or something, right? And so that looks more professional. It looks more, welcoming or enticing to the audience viewing it. And you can increase your prices probably at that point. You don't have to do, small, like beginner prices because you're starting out. You can actually say, hey, no, I've you're more in demand, right? Because you have more people. So increasing your rates a little bit might weed out people who don't want to pay a little more, but it's going to also open up room for people who do want to pay more. And that's how you grow in your, side hustle. And so really there's a ton of benefits to working two jobs, and you can kind of control it more, and it's a little less detrimental when you're trying to kind of grow two things at once rather than only focusing on growing one thing. It's like that saying of like having all your eggs in one basket, right? Like, I guess that's a pretty old saying, and they say that for a reason. It's because like you really want a little reserves, a little bit of this and that in each basket, because when something happens to one basket, that you still got some eggs in the other basket, right? And I think that that's a wise way to live and a wise way to think in terms of just surviving and being sustainable and maintaining. And not always, right? Because sometimes, you can just stay all in one thing and just grow that thing, right? And that's good too. I don't have anything against that. I'm just speaking from my perspective, in my opinion, as things that I've thought about. Like, what if I hurt myself? What if I hurt my arm, or, I get injured or I get sick? Yeah, that's another thing, full-time, being a barber full-time, you got to really put into perspective, into account, like real life, getting sick, getting injured, things like that. Those all take away from you being, at the shop, and continuing to bring in generate your income from, your business, cutting hair. And so having kind of one foot in, a W-2 world, and also one foot in a self-employment world, growing it can really alleviate some of that stress, some of that pressure, by just knowing that you kind of have, like, I guess, little safety nets, you know, for situations like that, where if you're sick, you know, okay, you're sick, but, you know, like I said, W-2, some usually they have, you can take days off, and they have sick, you know, sick vacation, sick days too, so you get paid, you still get paid, right? And hopefully you heal up quick, and, you know, you get over any cold or whatever. And if you're injured, you know, same thing applies to that. Sometimes there's, you know, things in place with your company and with your, I mean, stuff like that. Like, you know, when you're with your side hustle, it's like, hopefully those things don't happen, but I think you get my point of me just trying to kind of shed light on reality and shed light on real practical situations. And I know I'm just rambling here, and I'm just, like I said, I'm fleshing out all this stuff that I'm thinking, and I just, these are things that I think about, and I want to just share it to anyone who maybe is thinking about similar things, or somebody who's in situations where maybe you are a full-time barber, or maybe you've been wanting to start a side hustle. And I'm saying you could do both. I'm saying don't feel like you have to choose one or the other. You could do both. And, you know, you can find ways to, you know, to fit both into your world and make it work for you and for your needs, and you're still getting very similar results, if not more concrete ones. So I highly encourage you guys to just think about that. Think about your options. Think about what that would look like, and, you know, do some brainstorming and see what happens, because because one will be there for you, right? And when one drops down, you could just put both feet in the other one for the time being, and it's there, and it's helping you survive. It's helping you provide for your family and for yourself. And so 2025, guys, maybe you need to work 2 jobs. Maybe you need to start 2 jobs. Maybe you're already working 2 jobs. Keep it up. Let's keep grinding. Let's keep getting after it. I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.